This is your favorite host, sjsrana. I'm reporting live for July 5th, 2021, time about 7:21 hours UTC. So we got a new episode here, and we're going to discuss about Epstein, how Vicky Ward has come up forward to release new statement that she knew very well Godman SEXUal and the whole criminal empire of Epstein, how he was trying to traffic minor girls towards the Virgin Islands, which is also known as pedophile islands, So this has become a big news because we see still from the grave the demon speaks, and the demon is still influencing a lot of people around. And it's good that a lot of good women folks have come forward, especially like Vicky Ward, and many other females are coming forward now to expose this evil mafia, the evil trafficking empire. And this is such a nuisance in this whole world that, females are pressured many times, they are coerced, they are basically kidnapped, hijacked, and they are sexually assaulted many times. They pressurized from political end or from the money power they have or the muscle power. And the victim females who are trafficked or who are sexually enslaved are unable to, at that point of time, come forward and claim or go to the police station and report the whole facts. But later on it keeps revealing how things have gone worse for the females who are enslaved. Also, if we look back to India, which is also famous as the gang rape nation of the world, and it's a capital of the world, gang rape. And not only that, it's got huge massive girls who are under sexual slavery. Trafficking of girls is massive in India. And basically we look at how the cult works, how things are working in India. Not only few affluent officials are involved or complicit in this whole mafia, but we also find India godmen, also known as spiritual leaders or yoga gurus, very much complicit in enslaving females, especially using their spiritual powers sometimes, which is also known as siddhi. I'll have a discourse on this, what is the spiritual power siddhi and what it manifests, and how these people are misusing that power to basically enslave females, which is basically a spiritual power where you come to know about feelings or about the mindset, about what's person thinking inside the mind, and based on that they can do a metaphor, sexual enslavement, or they can directly approach the girl, or they can pressurize whatever they want to do. Now this article I published already a few days back. You can look at it on my WordPress, oneworldpress.wordpress.com, where I've mentioned India yoga gurus and Godman sexual enslavement of females exposed, because this was recently an article published on BBC from Aislinn Kaur, who was a reporter journalist who started exposing a lot of yoga gurus who were present, yoga schools who were running in UK, US, Canada, spread all over, and who were found, many of the teachers or gurus over there were found sexually enslaving females for a period of 2-3 years. And this report has been very exhaustive, and it's published on BBC. You can take a look at it. I've just tried to give some excerpts, and these excerpts can be taken as the pointers to how much colossal this event is going on. Basically the Indian predators population, which is having a massive teamwork, exceptional teamwork, I say. They're able to, every time in a locality, right from the locality to a small street, they're able to pin down females, count females, and they are able to enslave and trap and stalk them every time. And this has been going on. It's not a new thing that India reports every 15 minutes rape of a female, which is very conservative number. To my understanding, it's every 5 minutes India is raping a female, India sexual predators. So look at this problem when you compare with the Epstein evil empire, who is dead now, speaking from the graves. We can look at the Indian godmen, the yoga gurus or the yoga centers have been turned into basically sexual predators centers, or you can call it sexual enslavement centers. It's not just recent guru which have been which have been detailed here, but they are much more than this. Basically they have come down with this Vishnunanda, and there are many more just like him, and Shivananda, and all those things which have been mentioned here by Aislinn Kaur. We can also find very famous yoga guru, which was Bikram Chaudhary, who was also alleged by 3 or 4 females in US, which was very popular for running hot yoga, basically trying to enslave females. So this episode of yoga gurus or spiritual gurus who are trying to enslave female is a very old theory. It goes back to 2-3 decades in India, and now it's becoming very popular. That it's getting very exposed because females now under Me Too movement are coming forward, and you can see the Shivananda board which has tried to address this issue, and they also admit that there were some lapses. Recently there was another major India yoga guru which was known as Gurmat Ram Rahim, who is also into jail, convicted of sexually assaulting or enslaving two females. Another famous, very popular India Hindu guru, which was a self-made guru, or you can say a godman, known as Asaram Bapu, who is serving lifetime jail term in Rajasthan jail, was also found basically involved with minor girls sexual enslavement. So quite popular theme in India, and a lot of people in India, females, already know that once they approach the yoga gurus or the so-called yoga schools, they know they will be sexually enslaved, most of them. See, recently even there was another yoga guru known as Nityananda Swami, who has fled India 2 years back for inconspicuously, and has never been able to trace back because there were rape charges on him. And India government is still answerable to the courts of India, where they cannot produce him, and they are still tracing him somewhere around the islands of Caribbean, or somebody say in the Pacific. So anyways folks, this coercion and rape investigation on my yoga school, this article is very revealing, exposing the Indian sexual predators teamwork, how they entrap females. There's also another thing which is going on in India, just to highlight this. Not alone this Shivananda teacher, which has been detailed here, how he was basically sexually enslaving people. And there were another incidents in India where, small yoga gurus, or small spiritual gurus, who get or attain some spiritual power known as Siddhi, who are able to read the minds of the people looking at the face or even thinking about it. They are able to know the minds of females, and they are able to basically manifest the facts of enslaving them, basically because since they know they can impress the things, and the females quickly get enslaved, sexually enslaved, later on exploited, and whatnot. The trafficking of the girls goes on. This is a very common theme story here. And also there's another thing which is linked to it. India is also, I've seen here around locally also in the community, there is a metaphor consent going on, or metaphor games, where sexual predators or teamwork of these people have tried to put a metaphor of some hidden place, time, or action, where if you can imitate that, or the hidden location, then you will be given some girl by the human trafficking empire agents. So this game has been introduced in India locally. If you look where I live around here in phase 3B2 SAS Nagar Mohali, I've seen a lot of things happening in front of my eyes here, but I have never participated because I know this is whole hoax, and this is a big human trafficking empire gameplay. So what I've seen is they try to then, if you can imitate a place or hidden location, you can figure it out, then you're able to get female delivery at your doorstep by the human trafficking empire agent. This is quite popular theme working, known as metaphor consent or metaphor sexual consent. Apart from that, we also find there is a conversion row which is going on. This recent spat between the Sikh groups and the Muslim community in Kashmir, which is ethnic communities, both of them are minorities, were facing sort of some spat or some sort of discourse over, that alleged females were being converted into Islam religion forcibly as per the claims. But this was found untrue after, everybody intervened and tried to look at actually what was going on. So let's have a look at this script. This is from Crux, India, and this has become a major flashpoint. So if you look at the females here who are basically involved in this whole episode, they are themselves claiming on the video that they have themselves converted to Islam by their own sweet will. There is no coercion, there is no rape.
कल का जो वाक़या था बेटी मनमीत कौर के साथ जिस तरह का वाक़या हुआ, ये बहुत ही हमारे लिए सबके लिए चिंता का विषय है, क्योंकि इससे पहले भी हमारी 3 बेटियों के साथ ऐसी घटना घट चुकी हैं। कल का विषय एक एज्ड आदमी जो है हमारी एक बालिग बच्ची के साथ शादी करके और जबरन गन पॉइंट पे उसको ले जाया जाता है और उसकी शादी कर कोर्ट में पेश किया जाता है। माँ बाप बाहर खड़े हैं, पुलिस माँ बाप तक को पास नहीं आने देती। लेकिन जब हम लोगों यहाँ पे प्रोटेस्ट शुरू हुए, कोर्ट को रात को तक घेरे रखा, तो रात को 10:30 बजे पुलिस मजबूर हुई बच्चे को वापस करने।
So this whole debate is about coercion or consent. Well, many times personally, folks, I can tell you, the females from the Sikh community, most of them, the girls, they themselves choose non-Sikh community because of the fact that they don't have faith in the Sikh leadership. You know, because they know tomorrow they won't be safe, or they don't feel secure in Sikh community and the Sikh leadership basically. So they are themselves going after the other communities, religion, especially like Christianity, Islam, and also Hindu boys are also looking after Sikh girls. If you hear the testimony from these girls, which is here from the Damanpreet Kaur, you can understand this. Damanpreet Kaur has already said that she has herself on her street will convert to Islam. There is no coercion, there is no forceful conversion, and Sikh community is unnecessarily blaming her and the Islam community.
2014 में मेरे निकाह हुए हैं मेरे बैचमेट मुजफ्फर के साथ, जो मेरी और उसकी रजामंदी से हुए हैं। उसके बाद 6 जून 2021 में अपने घर से निकली। मैंने अपने घर में कॉल भी किया कि मैं अपनी मर्जी से निकली हूँ, मुझे ढूंढना नहीं। और विद इन 2 घंटे में पुलिस ने मुझे लोकेट कर दिया और सदर पुलिस स्टेशन बागात ले आए, जिसमें ऑलरेडी पूरी सिख कम्युनिटी और मेरी फैमिली वहां पर थी। उसके बाद एसएचओ ने मेरा स्टेटमेंट लिया, जो मेरा स्टेटमेंट सिर्फ ओरल ले रहा था। मैंने उसको ये बोला, आप मेरा स्टेटमेंट रिटन कीजिए, आप जो मैं बोल रही हूँ रिटर्न कीजिए। मैं उनको ये बता रही थी 2012 में मैं कन्वर्टेड हुई हूँ, 2014 में मेरे निकाह हुए हैं, मेरे डॉक्यूमेंट्स हाई कोर्ट के हैं, आप एक बार डॉक्यूमेंट्स चेक कीजिए मेरे। और इतना सब कुछ सुन के भी लड़के को लॉकअप में डाला गया था, उसके ऊपर एक्ट्स और चार्जेस लगा दिए गए थे। मैं उनको बार बार बोल रही थी कि मेरा 2012 में कन्वर्टेड हूँ, मैं 29 ईयर ओल्ड गर्ल हूँ, मैं एक छोटी बच्ची आपने पकड़ के नहीं लाई कि आप मुझे मेरी फैमिली की ओर हैंड ओवर कर रहे हो।
So you've already listened to the testimony of the girl on the video she released, that she has herself chosen Islam and she doesn't like the Sikh leadership, or she doesn't like the Sikh faith community. So there is no conversion and forceful coercion. So because the Sikh leadership is so, you can say, fragile, and it's so insecure that they every time come and blame on the other religious groups that they are somehow taking away their girls, because they are themselves feeling this insecurity, or they can provide the security to the females or to the folks who think they don't belong to Sikh community anymore. So folks, this is just an insight. I'm just already knowing, because I live around here and I know a lot of Sikh girls don't prefer to be in a Sikh community because they don't like the leadership of Sikh, and they know they are not going to help them. They are just there for, you know, making the speeches and long, you know, lift movement, and other than that they are just minting money, most of them. So it's very dismal situation that how come this small event has triggered into such a big row and spat between two communities. It's fortunate that the Islam and the Sikh community didn't have a big escalation and a fight over this small issue. Also, we see the same issue of conversion and love jihad has been labeled by Hindu groups also. They have also come up with a new law, especially in the state of UP, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra, where they have already, Gujarat, they've already come up with the laws of anti-conversion, where if they find any Muslim brotherhood having to marry with a Hindu female girl, they basically put them into a anti-conversion law and lock up. And this is another debate going on. I guess a big debate is pending between the Islam and Islam groups, religion, between the Islam religious scholars and the Indian Hindu group scholars, how they're going to deal with this conversion law, whether it's coercion, consent, or it's a rape, or it's a sexual enslavement, trafficking, whatever you call it. This has to be resolved, because this is going to become sooner or later a cause for a big, I think, communal violence. Whether it's Sikh community, whether it's Islam, whether it's Hindu community or Christians in India. So folks, I leave you here with this part, that this is something, a big time bomb, which is just taking to be exploded someday, because these anti-conversion laws or these consent coercion between females getting converted to other religion is a problem, because there shouldn't be no pressure to the females, whatever religion they want to choose or whatever male partners they want to choose. It's as simple as that. Females are already brutalized, are raped, are gang raped, are entrapped, enslaved, stalked already to the point when they turn 18. They have gone through enough, and when they choose a partner, their family pounce on them, or their family members are seen terrorizing on them, that what partner they choose is depending on their parents' will. So from another topic, we jump to this part of the Indian sex workers, which are almost about 0.9 million, approximately 1 million. It's a conservative number because there is no registry of sex workers in India. So my guess is there are almost around 10 million females in India who are sex workers. But since there is no registry, there is no registry of sex workers, it's just left open like that. So we see the plethora of problems which have come up. They have gone through a financial, you can say, a hurricane during this COVID-19 lockdown, and the girls were at the disposal of human trafficking empire, where they were basically misusing them over the metaphor consent games they played in the localities and the neighborhood around. And every sexual predator was enjoying free delivery of these females because they knew that they are jobless, they're out of work, and because of the financial hardships they are facing, the sexual predators of India took complete advantage during this whole lockdown of 7-8 months in India. They were enjoying females like anything. I have practically seen known in the locality neighborhood around that how they were sexually trafficked by the human trafficking agents who keep racing on the streets, honking around like animals, and they have turned the whole locality into speechless cats and dogs because they want to have a metaphor consent of place, hidden time, and hidden action. If you do that, then you will have a free delivery of these sex slaves or these human trafficking empire agents' delivery of females. Okay, going on to the next topic, where we have major busting of fake India call centers running in local here, SAS Nagar Mohali, also in Ludhiana, Punjab. So I've been reporting these folks a long time that India is very famous for imposters, impersonators, and these scammers who use phone spoofing technology to imitate any phone number and call the victim party to either extort money from them. Specifically, the clients, their victims are in US, UK, and Canada. In millions they are scamming, and also they are also found because these fake call centers are found in SAS Nagar Mohali, Ludhiana, Delhi, Ghaziabad. These people call from the fake numbers or even imitate a number of years using phone spoofing technology, and they are able to even sexually enslave girls, females. They are able to, knowing some information about some person, they can impersonate as that person and make a fool of a female. Many females have reported that they got the phone calls from someone where they know the number and they know the person, but that was not the case. It was some imposter calling and then put them into a trap. So this is a big scam going on in India. India's cybercrime is increasing every year. YOY growth is 62%, rated by NCRB, which is National Crime Record Bureau, New Delhi. Folks, it's 62% every year. That's cybercrime. So basically these impersonators, all these call centers, fake call centers which are being nabbed now is just an indication how far these Indian imposters are popular and scamming the world. Not only the Indian imposters are scamming the Indians, but they are also scamming mostly Americans, the Canadian, the US citizens, and the UK. It's been rated by rating agencies, top rating agencies on these scams, that almost about $30 billion in last year was lost to these scammers. If you look at this graph, you can see 35 to 44 years of male and female they're attacking mostly, and basically on an average Indian scammers or imposters are, you can say, plundering the wealth by impersonating as officers or someone. Almost about $320 to $330 to every citizens of America from year 2014 till 2020. This number has increased to $510 per family, per member. This is quite a phenomenal growth of this scam and this imposters business. We got to limit these imposters or these scammers, and there has been various methods apart from do not call registry, national do not call registration, to how you can block the numbers on your phone, report it as a scam to the authorities like Truecallers or some other agencies which are there in US working as to nab these criminals. There are many other ways you can nab these imposters. Okay, moving on quickly to the COVID-19 disaster of India. India recently has come up with its Covaxin results of phase 3 trial, which pronounced as 77.8% efficacy under phase 3 trial. Folks, these phase 3 trials were these phase 3 trials were so important that initially when India announced in April that it has also come up with a vaccine in April 2020, April, March, and during that time it didn't run through phase 3 trials, but it was proclaiming that it knows everything about this vaccine. Whereas I was already repeatedly saying, even in my last post, you can see in this last video segment that I've said the efficacy of India vaccine is too low. It is substandard if you compare it with Sputnik, which is over 95% efficacy. And if you look at Moderna or you look at even the UK vaccine, Pfizer vaccine, all these have very high efficacy rate. So 77.8% efficacy, I will rate it as substandard. And obviously India is having worse kind of fatalities. You can see the total fatalities have crossed 400k now, with 30 million cases of COVID-19 in India total, which is just next to US. I think in coming few months it will cross US also. That was my original prediction 2 years back, starting in 2020 January, that India will be number 1 in virus cases or COVID-19 cases and fatalities. So it is just 4 million short of US. US is having almost 34-35 million cases. Now, if you look at the graph, which is quite funny and quite irrational exuberance by India financial markets, you see the graph of fatalities of COVID-19 is directly proportional to India graph of Nifty market, or the Nifty index, which is rated as top 50 pick stocks of India movers and shakers. They have basically given the same picture as the fatalities. So you can see India financial market is undashed, is unfazed by whatever fatalities, whatever disaster COVID-19 had in India and so much of lockdown. It is unmoved by it. So it tells simple picture that, either India government or financial market don't care, or they're making huge profit out of big pharma. Obviously, if you see such a big stupendous growth on India stock markets, then it is to be the big pharma which is earning big profit through selling its medicines or whatever, maybe HCQ, hydrochloroquine. So these are all some quite funny and quite irrational exuberance which is exhibited by India financial markets. Also, if you look at the growth of India, I have also touched this point in my last topic. India GDP is not more than 8% for FY22. It has been downgraded from 12 or 13 double-digit %, which was originally predicted, forecasted by India government. Now it is not even 8%. I kept predicting this a year ago, right from 2020 May onwards, that India GDP FY22 is not more than 8%. Also, India has worst number of, you can say, the debt, the external debt has climbed to 570 billion or 21% of the GDP, which is quite huge and phenomenal. Also, India has highest historical number of unemployment, which is 250 plus million unemployed skilled workers of India out of 1.4 billion population. So look at these numbers. They are telling only one story, that India is facing a slump, a recession right now. You can say they are trying to come up with a good number that, okay, we are opening up. Well, that is not basically the concrete or the real true picture of the ground. The real reality of ground zero is that India is facing a recession right now. Everything is in slump and the long-term debt has also risen. So you see overall these numbers are so phenomenal that they only give the true picture that the India is facing a financial doom and gloom situation for at least 2 or 3 years down the line. And if you look at the borrowing cost, look at the debt, external debt to the GDP, okay, even if you look at the debt to the currency, they're all very high. And India is going to face very high inflationary pressure now, to my understanding 13%, 14% also YOY, because of the fact that the oil is touching skyrocket, is touching the roof. Also, the Indian industrial output is very low. The output is so low that it's touched 11%, 11 months down. So all in all, these numbers are telling one story, that India is going to face a big financial GDP down slump going forward. And if you look at the current account deficit, which is almost around USD 8.1 billion, which is 1% of the GDP in March. So it is already denting 1.5% GDP to the account deficit from the current account deficit of India. So all these numbers, I tell you, when you crunch them together, you only tell them that the India GDP is not going to be more than 8%. That is pecking it. I think it will be around 7.5%. And this has been my prediction for last 1 year for India GDP. Moving on to this monsoon season, where we see it's also forecasted as to be normal, and the farmers keep protesting in India. There's another industry, which is agri industry. It's also facing this huge protest, huge farmers uprising against the pricing and against the policies of the farming policies, which they think the privatization is going to wipe out the poor class, the poor farmers altogether. And this was my article, which I've written it 10 years ago. If you look at on my site, before its news, on my search sjsrana, before its news was a site where I published this report, Don't Bite the Hand That Feeds. This was the article I wrote on July 12th, 2011, where I've mentioned this same fact, that how the farmers in India are massively suiciding because they are poor, they are unable to cope up with the debt. The financial sharks are basically overpowering them with the stupendous amount of interest they charge on the farmers. So this was the article. You can take a look. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. And I've mentioned that there are almost around 15 to 20,000 farmers suiciding each year in India. That was the story from 2010, 11, 12. And overall, the whole decade of 2010, 2000 decade was marked with massive amount of suicides by poor farmers because they were unable to pay the debt, and these financial sharks were charging stupendous amount to individual farmers to captivate them, to basically deprive them financially. And mostly Punjab were suffering. The farmers from Haryana, Himachal and Maharashtra were suffering and suiciding a lot. Now we see another slamming of the Delhi High Court to the governments, where it has said, why do governments lie in courts? This is a quite bizarre scenario where the High Court of New Delhi is slamming the governments, that they come here on the podium and start lying about things. On big matters, they lie a lot. Imagine the amount of lie or deceit, deception they put for a small individual. Let's say they want to entangle someone or harass someone, they can lay any charges on an individual. I know personally because I was targeted in 2014, 15, 16, all 3 years, 4 years I've spent in courts just fighting the bogus, the hoax cases, fake and fabricated, where government also took a stand trying to be part with the accusers for no good reason when they were proven later on totally fabricated and fake. So 2 cases I've dealt and I've won on the count that they were lying in the courts. And also I've seen how I've gone through my passport ordeal, my simple passport renewal, which was a passport which I used to carry in US, and I used to work in US, Los Angeles, and also in Canada for almost 10 years, where the renewal took almost a year. That's how the Indian government took advantage or took suppression, repression, oppression of the activist or a human right or a truth teller, you can say a citizen journalist. This I have seen as a personal ordeal, and I have been narrating this a lot, that how I have gone through all these rigmarole. You can search from either Google or GoGoDuck before its news SJS Rana. Even if you search on Google SJS Rana, you will get all these details, my old articles. These are archives, folks. Nothing can be changed. They were submitted 10 years back and they are just as it is, intact. You can read all of these articles. Also, if you search on Google, you will see the latest articles. You can search by hashtag sjsrana, also hashtag MAY2020WW3, where you can understand how and how far I predicted the upcoming upheavals on planet Earth, basically the COVID-19 disaster. And that was predicted in July 2019 by me. So folks, these are all different stories which you can see on the net. From time to time I have indicated how what population bomb or the population explosion is going to be a problem to the whole world. Global climate crisis, you call it global economic crisis or COVID-19 crisis. You look at India, how India has COVID-19 disaster because of the population explosion. If you cramp up 1.4 billion population in a size which is 1/3 of China, in a size of that nation which is India, you can understand what disaster is going to cause. Obviously India, COVID-19 was a disaster. You can look at the numbers. India stands second with over 30 million cases, just next to US, which is having 34 million around cases. And you can look at India has not been able to achieve the vaccination. It has only been able to achieve around 30% population vaccination, whereas China has achieved over 1 billion people vaccination, which is almost around, you can say, 88-87% of vaccination. And if you consider US, UK, they've all achieved above 68, 69, 70% vaccination for its population. So this is all in all indicative of how population explosion in a nation causes huge disaster for everyone, not even locality or locally people around there, but for the whole globe. And these are my basically YouTube contents. You're free to comment. You can always review them on YouTube. And this is what you get when you search by my number, which is locally used by me over here. And I've been clearly indicating that my number is highly tapped by the agencies. They basically intercept all my calls, and they only let go or pass through the calls to my phone number, which they think is non-important and non-critical. So anybody important, like journalist, media house calling me, they will intercept it and redirect it. And basically, you can say, many times I know people telling me that they have basically redirected or detoured from you. They don't like people to meet me or people to see me. This is what has been going on with me as the agenda. So this is no surprise. I've been telling this, how I'm facing, the problem in India with the India stooges trying to pin me down, trying to put gag orders on my free speech, on what I try to tell about the realities and about the plight of the people here. This is the fact, folks. You can take a look at it, and I've given my address, I've given everything where upfront, and just so that there is no identity crisis or identity sabotaging. Because many times I've heard from people as a feedback that many people around your neighborhood are trying to sabotage your identity. They're trying to hijack your identity because the agencies are trying to work a way out that you don't get popular or you don't get the accreditation for what you do. The work you do is amazing. So not speaking much about or boasting about these things, I just want to tell you that it is the world which will need me because of what I can tell them and guide them through. It is not that I need the world at the moment, because I am very much immersed in my spiritual experience, which is taking me into a whole new level. Now, these are some of the articles which you can check on oneworldpress.wordpress.com, and these are current articles. You can keep reading them. I keep updating them every now and then. Also, another major issue in India with the females folks, apart from sexual predators harassing females, minor girls, we see a dowry problem which has been reported quite long. Almost 2 decades back, India put up a dowry enactment or dowry act, which is under section 406 and also under section 498, of India Penal Code, IPC. And they are trying to curtail the amount of dowry which goes through when there is a marriage taking place, when the groom asks from the bride. And this has been well documented fact 2 decades back, but there is a strict provision about dowry law which states that within 7 years this dowry act is more applicable, because within 7 years of marriage either all these transactions come forward or they don't. Also, they are trying to put up in the dowry act that everything which is taken under a dowry has to be in a document form, whether it's car, whether it's material given, gift, gold, or cash given. It has to be like a check, some bank account transaction, something concrete, something tangible you have to show. Otherwise, a lot of times it has been seen that Indian female folks, because of the craziness of their family, or you can say from the greediness, they are putting up useless cases on the male or the husband side. or the family. And in 2000 till 2000, many families were put under jail for no good reason, other than there was a gruntled wife, or you can say a runaway wife, also you can say a estranged wife who just doesn't like to be with the husband, has misused the dowry provisions and labeled the false fabricated cases. And we see why and how these been dealt. And it's more important to see that, according to the research, they say the gifts from the bride's family unsurpassingly cost 7 times more than about $429. This implied that an average real net dowry of $361. This is quite a sum for Indian folks, average family. So if you look at this number, this seems to be quite substantial. But again, as I say, dowry, if there is a problem, it has to be documented, it has to be well established as a tangible, empirical evidence, anecdotal evidence along with it, not just hearsay. Because if that is going on, which is most of the cases, about 90% of the cases of dowry in India are proven fake and fabricated. Because the wives want to implicate the husband, they do such things. Even in my case, you look at this fact which I presented, I was going through the same case, and I've given the whole detail how this person has put up into a fabricated fake case, implicated me in the courts for the same reason of dowry, and which was totally proven unsubstantiated, fake and fabricated. And even the courts of India, after proving that these cases were fake and fabricated, were also putting the liability on the government, that why do you lie in courts? Because governments are taking this case, and if their investigation is unfunded and is not substantiated by concrete proof, then it is just irrational exuberance. So folks, I leave you here. There's a lot more going on in the world where we got to focus. I want to tell more about this events which are going to take place at the galactic level from the 2014 UN 271 heavenly body appearing, and much more which is going to come after this. And I think down the line 10 years, there are going to be some massive upscale heavenly events which are going to take shape, starting from sun, spots and CMEs and whatnot, global climate crisis. There are going to be a lot of things which are going to rapidly change this whole planet Earth unless we try to adjust ourselves. Another quite bizarre thing is this collapse of this whole apartment building in Florida. Recently we see on June 24th this building got demolished. Somehow it just went. Almost 21 people have died in this Florida apartment building collapse. 121 people missing. Presumably people say they are basically fatalities, and we don't know the real cause, what has caused it. But to my understanding, if you ask me, I think there is again human trafficking empire agents, or those people, human trafficking involved in this, just like the Epstein scenario, how Epstein was able to manipulate things or threaten females. I think this is the same situation which we are going to witness here. This demolition took place on July 3rd, intermittent night, and this is quite strange how they could just demolish this building all of a sudden. This is basically some big conspiracy, I guess, going on. As I indicated, human trafficking empire have a big hand in it.